Hey guys, what's going on and welcome to a brand new video. Of course, this video is going to be your Premier League predictions for game week 23. Make sure you do like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it and go back to game week 22 and see how I did with my predictions. My predictions are on the screen right now, as you guys can see, and let's go through it. So started off with the Manchester derby, Man United versus Manchester City. I predicted Man City to win this game 3-1, and I mean, they got absolutely battered. Man United were the way better team. Watching that, I was shocked of how bad Man City actually played. Man United ended up winning the game 2-0. I mean, in the first half, there should have been a red card. I do not know how they didn't get a red card. Dalot should have been sent off. I do not know how that's not a red card. His studs are into the knees. I don't know how that's not a red card. Old Trafford, referees, VAR. What do you expect though? But Man United end up winning 2-0. If the red card actually does happen like it should have, then I think the game is a completely different game, and Man City probably win it. But Man United did play well after that. They got their 2 goals, and it could have been more if it wasn't. I mean, Donnarumma saved Manchester City from it being 4-5 at some point, you could argue. I mean, Casemiro should have scored and all that, and Man United ended up winning their game 2-0, so I got it completely wrong. The next game was Chelsea versus Brentford. I said it would be a 1-1 draw between Chelsea and Brentford. It ended up being a 2-0 Chelsea win. Chelsea now, could they start a little bit of a run? Are they going to get top 4? But yeah, good performance from them in the way of they got the 3 points, and that's all that really matters. Performances aren't really what matters probably for Chelsea. They just want the wins and the points to get into the top 4. I thought it would be a draw because Brentford have been very good this season. I thought they might get a point out of this, but Chelsea ended up winning. Let's move on to the next game. As I said, as Leeds United played against Fulham, I thought Leeds United would win 2-1. I thought we'd win the game, and we ended up winning the game, but it's only a 1-0 win. It's revenge for what happened last time early on in the season between Leeds and Fulham, and it's a last-minute winner. Lucas Mecha. Great finish from Lucas Mecha as we went on to win the game 1-0. Massive 3 points. That keeps us 8 points above the relegation zone because of another result that happened we'll get later on. Next game that happened was Liverpool versus Burnley. I said Liverpool win this game 3-0 because I thought, hey, they're going to beat Burnley. They'll have too much for them. They ended up not doing that. It ended up being a 1-1 draw between Liverpool and Burnley, so Burnley getting a point. I don't think that's going to help them. I think they're going down. I think for me, they're guaranteed to go down at the moment for me. But, hey, they got a point in this game against Liverpool. You know, not an easy place to go, Anfield, and they got themselves a point. So it's a good performance from them to be able to do that. And, yeah, moving on to the next game, we had Spurs versus West Ham. I said Spurs will win the game 2-1 because I thought, yeah, Spurs are going to win this, but, hey, they're not going to absolutely batter them because Spurs haven't been good. Spurs, I mean, they let me down even further because West Ham ended up winning this game 2-1. A 2-1 win to West Ham. It was basically the reverse scoreline as West Ham won in the last minute as well with Callum Wilson, who I thought already left, scored the winner for West Ham as they went on to win the game 2-1, which gives them a little bit of hope, and maybe they can get out the relegation zone and maybe try and survive. And as I said about the Leeds result, keeping us 8 points above them. So, yeah, but it is one of those things about West Ham. Good result for them, good win for them, and could they get out the relegation zone? Who knows if they continue playing the way they're playing and continue getting points. You know, it's about getting points now really for West Ham, not about performances. But yeah, they won the game against Spurs, and we'll move on to the next game, which was Sunderland versus Crystal Palace. I said Crystal Palace would win this game 2-1, and again, it's the reverse, and Sunderland are still undefeated at home. I keep saying, oh, Sunderland will lose their first game at home, and they just keep winning at home. 2-1 win to Sunderland. I mean, Palace have had an awful week. Palace have had an absolute awful week. I don't know if it can get any worse, really. Shouldn't say that because it could, but I don't know if it could get any worse for Crystal Palace at the moment. But yeah, Sunderland ended up winning the game 2-1. Good result for them as they're still trying to push on for maybe Europe. Maybe they can get Europe. Maybe it's a bit too soon for them since it's their first season back in the Premier League, but they want to fight and try and get into Europe, and they have a chance to. They have a big chance to, and another win against Palace, who are starting to just free fall down the ladder, down the table and everything. The next game was Forest versus Arsenal. I said, oh yeah, Arsenal win game 3-0, comfortable win against Forest. Ended up being a 0-0 draw, and Forest got a point. A very good point for Forest, and good for them, even though West Ham did win, which means they're kind of getting a bit closer to Forest, but Forest getting a point at least makes it not as bad. You know, it makes it not as bad. They end up drawing 0-0. That might give confidence to Forest, saying, hey, we just drew with Arsenal 0-0, who are probably going to win the Premier League. And yeah, Arsenal probably should have scored in this game, probably should have won. There was a shout for a penalty. In my opinion, I'm like, you can't cry about the penalty. I mean, I've heard more people on Twitter, which is Arsenal fans, crying about the penalty than I've seen Man City fans cry about the red card. I mean, it's mad that you still hear day after day Arsenal fans cry every single day after day, and then kind of Man City fans are kind of, you know, there's not been many tweets that I've seen about the whole red card thing, which is way worse than the penalty that maybe should have been given, but not quite sure. But the next game was Wolves versus Newcastle, and I thought again, oh yeah, I'll get this result right. Newcastle win the game 3-1. It ended up being a 0-0 draw and a draw, which gives points again to Wolves and keeps them undefeated in 2026. Could they escape relegation? Who knows? The next game, of course, was Aston Villa versus Everton, and I said it would be a 2-0 Aston Villa win. Everton ended up winning this game 1-0. Everton were really impressive in this game, watching it. I mean, Pickford saved them. Rodgers could have scored an absolute beautiful finish from outside the box, but it was a great save from Pickford. Everton ended up winning the game 1-0 in a game where I thought they were the way better team and deserved the win. I think Villa were on like 11 games unbeaten. I think it was 11 wins in a row at home. And this was their first loss. But yeah, Everton played well and probably deserved the win. And the final game of the game week was Brighton versus Bournemouth. And I predicted a 2-2 draw. And the scoreline ended up being a 1-1 draw with Bournemouth scoring a penalty. And of course, Brighton scoring in the 90th minute with a bicycle kick. So anyway, let's get into Premier League predictions for Game Week 23. So the first game of Game Week 23 we got is West Ham versus Sunderland. Now, going into this game, West Ham, of course, maybe they're building a bit of momentum with a win over Spurs, but I think that Sunderland are going to have too much for them, and I think Sunderland are going to win this game. And the way they've been playing this season, Sunderland, I think they'll have too much for West Ham. Normally, when you say a team's going away from home, you go, oh yeah, it's going to be difficult for them. But then you go, not with West Ham. I feel like their ground doesn't really... It's not like most grounds where the home fans and the atmosphere kind of can get teams over the line. I don't think that stadium does that, and I don't think it's going to help them in this game. So I'm going 2-1 Sunderland. I think Sunderland will win this game. Next game of the game we've got is Burnley versus Spurs. And even though Spurs have been awful, I can't go against them in this game. I know they're dropping like flies at the moment, and they're, well, not far off being in a relegation battle. I don't think they won't get relegated, but they're near the relegation battle. And they're up against Burnley. So this is like a 6-pointer. A 6-pointer between Burnley and Spurs. But I think Spurs, it's at Turf Moor, but I think Spurs are going to have too much for Burnley and they'll win this game. I think it's going to be 2-0 Spurs. I think they'll keep a clean sheet. I mean, they kind of do need a win. And I think if they don't win this game, Thomas Frank's definitely gone. I'm surprised he's not sacked now, to be honest. I thought he might have been gone after the weekend. But I do think he'll be gone if they don't pick up 3 points against Burnley, because you look at the game against Burnley now and you go, they lose that game, they could be dropping even more places down the table. But yeah, I think they're going to have too much for Burnley and actually win this game 2-0. And they kind of do need to win it because their next couple of fixtures after this are very, very difficult. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 Spurs win. The next game of the game we've got is Fulham versus Brighton. Now, Fulham are playing Brighton. What do I think is going to happen in this game? I think it's going to be a draw. I have a feeling this game is going to be a draw. I'm going to say a high-scoring draw as well. I'm going to go 2-2 between Fulham and Brighton. I think there's going to be goals in this game, and it's going to be one of those where Harry Wilson will score like 2, and then it's just going to be one of those where I think Harry Wilson will be back to scoring, even though he didn't score against Arsenal, and I thought he would, to be honest. But I think he'll score in this game, Harry Wilson, and it'll be a 2-2 draw between Fulham and Brighton. I think it'll be a entertaining, high-scoring game of football. I'm just going for that because good prediction. And the next game we got is with Manchester City versus Wolves. Now, Wolves unbeaten in 2026. Could they continue that against Manchester City? I'm going to say no. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm going to say Manchester City are going to win this game. And not just win this game. I think they're going to absolutely destroy Wolves. And I think they're going to win the game 4-0. Look, Wolves have been very good in 2026. Some good performances. They're getting points. But I just think Man City are going to have too much for them. And after what happened at the weekend and losing against Manchester United, they still probably can feel they can win the Premier League, with Arsenal also only getting a draw, which means they'd only go one extra point ahead. So they're still looking at it like we can win the league. And I feel like they're going to basically take their anger out on Wolves, and it's going to be a 4-0 win to Man City, and they're just going to smash them, I think. Yeah, I think they're just going to have way too much. They're going to smash them. There'll be a couple of goals for Haaland. Maybe Semenyo gets a goal, and I just think it's one of those where there's going to be too much for Wolves. That's what I think. And the next game we got is Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Going into this game, of course, the reverse fixture was an insane game where it was the opening game of the season where Liverpool won it like right at the end. That was like the start of the season where Liverpool kept winning games late on. But I think Liverpool, even though their form's been awful, I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to have too much for Bournemouth, and I think they're going to win this game 2-1. I'm going to say a 2-1 win to Liverpool. I think they'll have a bit too much for Bournemouth. I think it'll be a close game, but yeah, I think they're going to win in the end 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool. The next game we got is Brentford, and they're actually playing Nottingham Forest. Going into this game, For Brentford, of course, at home, they're pretty decent at home. They got a striker who's in form in Thiago, versus a Forest side who, of course, got a point against Arsenal. But I think this is going to be a bit too much for them in this game. I think Brentford are going to have too much for them in this game, and I think they're going to win this game 2-0. So I think it's going to be a 2-0 Brentford win. And yeah, it's just one of those games where I don't see Forest winning their form. I know they drew with Liverpool. They drew with Arsenal. But I don't think their form has been great, and I don't think it will be great, and I think they're going to go back to losing games, and this is going to be another one. I think Brentford are going to have too much for Forest, and they're going to win this game 2-0. Now, next up we got is Crystal Palace, and they're going to be playing Chelsea. We've got Chelsea and Palace in this game, or Palace and Chelsea. Palace are slowly dropping down the table, of course, and against Chelsea, the way Chelsea are about to find some bit of form. They got a good run coming up as well, and I think they're going to get a point. I think they're going to win this game. Sorry, I think they're going to win this game, and I think Chelsea are going to have too much for Crystal Palace in this game. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Chelsea. So a close game, but I think Chelsea are going to have too much for Crystal Palace, and they're going to win it 2-1. The next game we got is a Newcastle, and they're going to be hosting Aston Villa. So we've got Newcastle versus Villa. I think Villa are going to win this game. Of course, Villa dropping points to Everton in a game where if they won, they could have been 4 points behind Arsenal, and you could have never known in that situation, could they win the league? I mean, if you're saying City can still win the league, which I am, Aston Villa could go on another run and still win the league. You never know what can happen in the Premier League, but it just felt like that Everton game was the moment where they needed it. That was kind of the moment for me where I thought they needed to win that game. It just feels like Villa don't have I mean, I'm not going to say anything because they've been brilliant this season. I don't think they can win the league. Personally, you can't say they're out of it, but I don't think they're going to win the league. I think they're going to kind of drop off a bit and finish third. I think there's going to be a gap between third and fourth, but I think kind of Man City and Arsenal are going to be a bit away from Aston Villa when it comes to the end of the season. But as I say that, I do think Villa are going to win this game. I think Villa are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a 2-1 Aston Villa win. Newcastle have not been great. Newcastle's form haven't been great either. They are at home, so maybe they win this game, but I'm going to say Aston Villa win it 2-1. The next game we got is Arsenal, and they're going to be hosting Manchester United. Of course, Arsenal disappointing after dropping points to Forest in a 0-0 draw, and then you got Man United who are probably buzzing after beating Man City in the Manchester derby. But going into this game, I think as Arsenal at home, especially since it is at home at the Emirates, I think they're going to win this game, and I think it's going to be one of those games. It's going to be 2-0. 2-0 win to Arsenal. I think they're going to have too much for them. They'll probably score from a set piece. They'll be whipped in, and Gabriel will probably head it in, and then someone else will score, and it'll be a 2-0 win to Arsenal. I think it's going to be like one of those comfortable 2-0s where they're all over them. They'll score 2, and then they'll basically be it. But yeah, and the final game we got of the game week is Leeds United, and they'll be playing Everton. Going into this game, of course, the last time Leeds and Everton did play, it was a late winner from Lucas Mecha, which was a penalty for a 1-0 Leeds United win. Going into this game on the reverse fixture, you got Everton at home. I think it's going to be a tough game with Everton playing at home. You always got to look at that and be like, it's going to be a tough game under the lights as well at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Under the lights, very tough, very big atmosphere. But I do think it's going to be a tight game, and I think the game's actually going to end 1-1. So I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw between Leeds United and Everton, Everton and Leeds United. But yeah, let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.